Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. I'm very excited about today's video because I'll be making something that I have thoroughly enjoyed making, and that is bird feeders and bird baths. And yes, I have my hand bandaged up, and the reason is because what I first started to do was some bird houses, and it wasn't long till I realized that my staples were too long, so I got out the grinding tool and lost control of it right away, and it just got against my hand, and that's just a kind of pain that kind of irritates you, especially when it's hot outside. And I just abandoned that project altogether. I'll come back to it at a later date, but I decided that I would make feeders and baths instead. And I'm happy that I did because I had so much fun coming up with creative ideas to make those. Now this first one is super easy. I'm just going to use this, I don't know if it's not a gravy boat, maybe some sort of small soup tureen. I really don't think it's that because this is just too small for that. But whatever this piece is, it had a lid, and I took the lid off, and I'm going to use these handles to tie some ribbon and some faux pearls, and just kind of use it to hang the bird feeder. And I tied the first knot with both using the ribbon and the faux pearls, and then because the faux pearls are not going to tie that well, then I'm just going to use just the ribbon and finish tying a couple of knots to secure it well, and then I won't have any problem with that coming off. But I'll have the faux pearls with the ribbon to kind of make it stronger, plus add another element to it. And now you could leave it just like this, but I'm going to take some ribbon and I'm just going to tie a big bow on both sides. And then this will just have kind of a shabby chic look to it, but then obviously you're just going to put some bird seed in this and hang it from something. Now I would say you could hang this from a tree or something, but you don't want to do that with this particular one because it doesn't have anything to shelter it from the rain. And my husband said that he could drill a hole in the bottom because he has like a diamond bit, drill bit, but I just didn't want to take that chance, and I just decided this one is going to be just like maybe to hang on a covered porch or something. Now, I hope you guys will try to make some of these because you'll see as the video goes on that there is so many ways that you can make these, and so many items that you can use for creative ideas. And I just think some of these turn out so cute, and most of them are very simple to do. None like this one. This one is the most simple by far. So there it is hanging up, and again, I think this would work out really well on a covered porch. Now this is an item that my friend Debbie brought me. She actually brought me several little metal items that she thought maybe I could make them over. But I had this little dish that had some flowers on it. I just love this design, but I got to looking at those flowers, and not only does this bowl fit perfectly inside the top, but the flowers in the middle here are the same style of flower, and I just thought that was great. And I'm just gonna, this is brown, and I'm not crazy about the color of brown, so what I'm gonna do is paint the flowers to match the flowers on the dish. And I'm going to do that by mixing the color Rustic Red with the color Buttercream. And then I'm just kind of dry brushing it over these flowers. And I don't mind that the brown shows through. That's exactly what I want. because what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these flowers this color, and then I'm going to use the color kudzu mixed with the same color of buttercream, and use it to paint the leaves and the little stems going to the leaves and the flowers. And again, everything is going to be kind of dry brushed on. I purposely don't cover it completely. And then once I have this on and it's dry, then I'm going to take some clear spray paint and just spray it all over and give it a good dusting of some cinnamon, some ground cinnamon. And that will give it a rust look. I'm not doing it completely because I want these flowers to show up really well. But I do want this to look like it's been outside and rusted, and that works perfectly. And then once you get enough of the cinnamon on it and you're happy with the amount of rust look you get, then you just finish it off with a clear sealer. I'm being really careful to not only get the right color of flower color, but also the right color for the leaves. And again, I just mix the buttercream and kudzu. And I got it a little lighter than I wanted to begin with, but then I just went through and added a little bit more of the kudzu and went back over it here and there. And I like the different dimension in the color of the leaves, and it just worked out perfectly. And again, then when I added the cinnamon, it got some of the rust look on to the flowers and the leaves, and it just made it look like the whole thing was very old. And this, of course, is going to be a little bird bath. So you'll just put some water in the top of this, and it'll work perfectly for a little bird bath. Now, this is some old wood that I think Debbie also gave me. She and her husband came with several metal pieces and then several old boards. And then this bottle came from my friend Catherine King. Now, Catherine has always been so generous to give me lots of craft items to work with, and she usually mails them to me, but the other day she came and paid me a visit and brought me several things, but one of the things that she brought me was a big box full of old bottles. Now this, although there were some very, very unusual jars and bottles, this was one of the plainer ones, but it's going to work perfect for this because it has a flat side. So it's going to make a good bird feeder. And this is a little soap dish. It isn't old. It actually is a replica of an old soap dish. I have this left over from several that I bought years ago, but they just don't sell for me anymore. And this one I'm just going to mount on the bottom of this board, and then I'm going to wrap a little piece of rusty wire around the screw before I finish putting it in, and that will keep the bottle from moving there at the bottom. But it's loose enough that I'll be able to pull it out easily. And then this is just a little handle from a bucket, a small bucket that I had or used to have, and I just had the handle left, and I drilled 2 holes in the side and just stuck that back in there. Now I can move that in and out to add the bird seed. And then this is just a little mold that I had that I added to this, and then stamped the word "eat" on the top. And then I'm just going to drill a hole in both sides of the top so that it can be mounted on something. And I'm sure you've seen these types of bird feeders. You just fill the bottle with bird seed, and then put it down in there, and it dumps until it gets to
it didn't
that
take a whole lot to do
opening
this one.
in the bottle, and that keeps it
fairly
from pouring
simple
out anymore.
finish.
And I just think that's a really neat design for a bird feeder. Now this is the same thing. I'm using another old board that I had, and this was a tongue and groove board, and what I did was just cut the tongue and the groove off both ends of this, and I put one on the top and one on the bottom. I've just cut them the length that they needed to be for this width of board, and then I just used some wood glue and glued them to the top and bottom, and then added a couple little staples to hold it in place, and then this will that just kind of finishes out that, adds another little element to the top and bottom to trim it out. Now this is just a stencil that I've had for some time, and it's a large furniture stencil, but all I need is the word cafe off it. And then I'm just going to take a little sponge and stencil that on, and because it isn't as bold as I would like it to be, then I'm taking color buttercream that I used in the stencil, and I'm just hand painting a bolder look to it. And then I feel like that cafe will show that it's a feeder also. And then I'm going to take what I call little C-hooks, and I'm going to add those little C-hooks in this pattern, and then hang these little cups from them, and then you'll be able to fill them about half full of bird seed, because they'll just kind of hang at an angle, and then the birds can eat from those little teacups. Now I could have just drilled holes for those little hooks to start in, but I just decided to take a screw instead and just start the screw in with my drill, and then take it back out, and then I was able to start those little hooks a lot easier. And then I'm just kind of strategically placing them on there so that they'll hang where I need them to, and they'll also kind of be staggered and not be in a straight line. Now I had 4 of these cups, and thought about using all 4, and then decided that 3 looked much better. And I had a little space there on the top, and I'm just going to take some E6000 and glue an old spoon and fork there, just to kind of add to the cafe look. And then this one, I'll drill a couple holes in the top of this one so that it can easily mount on something as well. Now these could be mounted to the side of a fence, or an old post, or an old building, or just wherever you want to add them. Now here's another little bottle, the same style, and I also got this one from Catherine, and I'm going to make a little smaller version of this, except it'll have a little different look. But I had this little miniature bread pan, and what I did was I took it outside and I sprayed it with some brown spray paint, and then while the brown spray paint was still wet, I sprinkled cinnamon all over it, and then finished it off with a clear finish, and that made it look rusty. And now I'm doing that same thing. I took the tongue and groove off the sides of this board, and then I cut them the length that they needed to be for the top and the bottom, and then I just glued that on with some wood glue. Now these are some old drawer pulls, and I'm sure you've seen these. These 2 go on the side, and then the handle goes in the middle and kind of slips back inside those little holes. But instead of using it that way, I am going to glue those where they need to be, on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to feed some old rusty wire through it, and that will hold it on the top and the bottom. But I didn't want all this contrast, and I'm sorry, this particular one is pretty bad out of frame. But what I did was I drilled a little hole so that there's there's kind of a little groove at the back of these little drawer pull knobs, and so I just kind of made a little recession with the drill bit, just enough to glue that back in. And I glued these on with some E6000 on the top and the bottom, but because I didn't want so much contrast in this, I used the color Haint Blue, which just so happened to be almost exactly the color that was on these old boards. And I just kind of dry brushed that over the top of these so that they don't stand out quite as much. Now, I think I said I glued these with E6000. I didn't use E6000 on these. I actually used Titebond Thick and Quick. But as you can see, this Haint Blue is the perfect color for this. And then I will clear coat those once they are dry. So I let these dry overnight before I added my wire, because once I added my wire, it was going to need, I was going to be doing some tugging at it, and I didn't want to pull those out. Now this is a transfer that my friend Gina brought me, and I just love this, and just happened to think of it when I was trying to think of something that I could add to this to dress it up a little bit more. I thought of these flowers and the color that they are, and I thought it would be the perfect color for this. And I'm so glad I thought of that, because it is the perfect color, and I absolutely love how this one turned out. And this is a little piece of script that was in the transfer vintage post, and that's a Dixie Belle transfer. And this is not one that you would really need to use. You could use some script from any transfer, but it's just what I had on hand. Now here I am just kind of curling the end of that and attaching it. And I attached it at the top and the bottom, and there again you can just add your bird seed and turn it upside down, and then it will spill into there until it gets to the top of the bottle. Now this is another one that I did, and my plan at first with this is an old copper pot of some sort, and I wanted to take something and string it through those handles and hang it that way, but I also wanted to add this little cloche of sorts, and once I did that, I just didn't want to hang right. So I decided instead that I would put this on a large metal candlestick, and it worked much better. So what I'm going to need to do is paint this silver plate lid to match the copper pot that I'm using on the bottom, because I want this to be cohesive. So I gave this one coat of the copper metallic paint from Dixie Belle, and I give it one coat, let that dry well. I'm going to paint the inside of this lid as well, but I give it one coat, let it dry well, give it a second coat, let that dry well. And generally, I don't let the second coat dry well, and I add my patina spray onto the second coat. But it didn't cover quite as well as I wanted it to, so what I did was gave it 3 coats, and on that third coat, while it was still wet, I sprayed the patina spray on it, and then that gave me the look that I wanted, and it just gave it more of an aged look, and this is what I ended up with. And once both sides, the inside and outside of this lid, was dry, then I glued it to the top of this cloche with some E6000. Now I did use E6000 on this one because I needed a lot stronger hold. And then I just set that on the top. You'll put your bird feed in the bottom and put that on the top. And then I just used that same E6000 and glued it to the metal candlestick that I also did the same rust finish on. Now here are all of them that I did. Now there's a couple here that I did off camera, and I'm going to show you these. Now this first one, I added a shelf to the bottom and glued a teapot on, and then the lid to the teapot, I added a bird to that with some E6000, and then I used a wall tile that was made from plastic that you get from the Dollar Tree, and glued that in to make the hole smaller, and added some more of that transfer. Now I glued this pot on with some E6000, and then I also added a handle to the top, a drawer pull to the top, and tied that on. So that's not going anywhere. It looks like it's hanging only, but it's not just hanging. And this one I thought was really neat. I added a drawer pull to the top of this one and a shelf to the bottom, and then hung a little teacup and saucer, and I glued the saucer on and just hung that teacup, and I thought this one was a neat little look also. Now I can add some of these items into some of the landscape that I did, and I want to show you some that we've been working on. I showed you part of this in an earlier video, but for the most part we've got it finished. I'm looking forward to some of these plants maturing so that it will hide some of this mess in the back, and like all that wiring there from the phone line, or the power lines rather. And then here is my little shed that I did, and we created a little pathway there with some flagstone, and I just was really happy with how this turned out. I think it neatened the place up. It's kind of an eyesore through there, and for that reason we really never did much with it. And again, once these plants mature more, then it will hide a lot of that, and until then it still looks much better than it did. Now I wanted some wisteria. I love wisteria, but as you know, it is very intrusive, but this is a place where I won't worry about the roots getting too big. Now this was only planted maybe a week and a half ago, and I ordered it through the mail, and it didn't have anything on the stem at all, and they're already sprouting real good. So this is an area here that I added because I want to add some of my items for sale into the landscape. So I'm creating little vignettes. As you can see, it's nowhere near finished, but see here, I've already got a sprout on that wisteria also. That's a pot that I did with the iron patina paint. This is a little building here. Actually, my daughter does hair from this little building, and I should have shown you the inside. It's just the cutest little shop, and it's just worked out really well for her, but I felt like I needed to add it into the landscape as well. And this little area here in between, it has needed some color for some time, and I thought these wave petunias were perfect, and some more of those limelight hydrangeas. Now the front area, I wanted to keep it very simple because I've always had a lot of the items that are for sale on this front area, and it just has looked way too busy, and I just like this simple look of these Adirondack chairs, and it'll be a place for people to sit while they wait on someone in the store. And I found these chairs on Amazon, and I thought at a very good price, and I was really happy with the quality, so I'm going to add these in the description just in case you're looking for something like this. Again, I had so much fun with this video, and you will likely at some point in the future see another video making these because, again, they were so much fun. And thanks again to my friends Catherine, Debbie, and Gina for contributing to these makeovers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.